Within the past few weeks, I probably have gotten upwards of 50 private messages requesting and asking my thoughts and opinions on this game. So I'm here to talk about it. Hello everybody, welcome back to Board Game Buzz today. My name is Carly and today I'm going to be sharing my first thoughts and impressions on Vantage. Vantage is the newest game from Stonemaier Games, and that's literally all the information I needed to know was Stonemaier game, and I was already like, sign me up, I am ready, I'm here for it. Jamie was kind enough to send me an earlier copy of the game, so I was able to get my hands on it, and I've played this game about 6 times now. If you missed it, I actually have a video that should have been released at the same time of this video of an actual sponsored playthrough for Vantage. So if you haven't heard of this game, or if you are kind of curious to watch a playthrough, watch me playing through a session of this game, please go over, watch that video. I'll make sure to have it linked in the description below. So I just finished playing it and now I'm going to jump into an actual first impressions video. And I'm really excited to share my thoughts because I have lots of them. If you are new to the channel though, or you've never seen any of my videos before, hi, welcome to Board Game Buzz. We're so happy to have you here. It means so much if you could like, subscribe, do all the good things to help support the channel. I would really appreciate it. But without further ado, let's dive into my first impressions of Vantage. All right, so I have so many thoughts on this game. The very first thing that impressed me when I broke out the game, started playing it, was just how expansive the story in this game is. I mean, just take a look at this box, okay? This is a huge, hefty box just full of cards and stories, countless number of items and quests that you can get and achieve throughout the game. And the way that it all marries and kind of just intertwines with each other is so impressive. Every single time I've dove into this game, I have uncovered completely new and different locations, different parts of the story, different parts of this world, and it truly does just pull me in every single time I sit down and play it. I'll be looking at a location and in the distance I'll see some sort of figure or statue and I want to go visit it, and so I head north and I manage to get to that specific location and I'm able to uncover it. There was literally a game where I was digging because I was trying to find crystals. That was one of the missions that I was trying to do. So I was going down I was basically spent the whole game underground, and I think I literally dug to the center of the earth. Of course I died, but I dug all the way to the middle of this planet. And now I kind of know something that's going on there. So now I actually want to continue to dig, to go down there to try to fulfill or complete whatever I was just at. And so you're going through just exploring the story, and it works so well. I think a game that this is going to get compared to a lot, at least in my opinion, is Lands of Galzier. That was a game that I played, was it last year? Maybe it was 2 years ago that I played that game. And this feels very similar to it in regards to you have a box full of cards and you are going through uncovering parts of the story. Now, Lands of Galzier was one that I played a handful of times, but eventually I just kind of didn't really find myself getting drawn back to it. And this one, again, it feels very similar to that, but for whatever reason, this story is bringing me in more. And the gameplay, I actually prefer this one to Lands of Galzier. But having said that, there are a couple things that I think actually make Lands of Galzier slightly better. One of the things that I actually prefer in Lands of Galzier versus this is how each character, you actually can kind of upgrade a little bit and kind of boost certain abilities that particular character has. So at a future moment, if you go into, I kind of forget what the terms are, but if you're trying to sneak around and your character has been boosted up a little bit in sneak, well then you actually can fulfill that action easier than, for example, in this game where all the characters are exactly the same. Again, that's kind of something that this game is being touted as, right? It's a campaign game that's not a campaign game. You can just dive into and experience the story, experience a different story every single time you play, and completely reset and start again. And so you're not really leveling up your characters, you're not really getting more powerful. And so I see what it's doing and I totally see the positives for it. For me personally, I wish that I could upgrade these characters a little bit more, or I wish I could, I don't know, I keep coming back to Galzier, how Lands of Galzier is very much like that, is you are kind of beefing your character up a little bit and changing it throughout the game. And so I wish there was an element like that here. Again, it makes it so next time somebody comes and plays, they already have a character that might be upgraded in a way that they didn't necessarily want to be upgraded in. So again, I see both sides of the coin. It's just for me personally, I like that feeling of the more I play this game, the better my character is getting, which this doesn't really have that. I absolutely love how well the artwork inherently is so tied with the story. And I mean, at least for me, every single time I find a new location, I will just sit and stare. And I will just stare, trying to find any little hint I could. Like, I know one game I was at an ocean and I saw a big shadow in the water, and sure enough, that shadow was giving me a clue as to what was potentially down there or happening. And so I thought that aspect was so impressive, just how amazing the artwork is in this game inherently. I really love it from a thematic standpoint too, because I mean, Vantage, the whole thing is you're from one person's point of view, right? You can see, you're combing down into what they're actually looking at or seeing, and you're moving from scene to scene to scene. And I love the way that you are interacting with the environment and interacting with the locations and cards. Having said that, there definitely are times where I go to a location. For example, if I did push, okay? In my head, I want to push this thing. I want to push this weird orb that's kind of coming out of the ocean. But maybe when I go to push, it actually is interacting with a different part of the board. And at that point, it's too late. I can't go back and be like, oh, I actually want to focus now. It's too late. The moment that you open up that book and read the highlighted section, you have to continue doing that. So that part I found slightly frustrating, because there were times where I thought I was interacting with the story in a certain way, when in reality, I was doing something different. So sometimes I found that a little bit frustrating. Something else I'm going to say, which is the same problem that I kind of had with Lands of Galzier, is I really like games where I have a clear endpoint, right? Where I see a strategy and I work towards that strategy and I'm able to achieve that strategy. There are times in this game where you get stuff that you just simply can't complete. You won't be able to complete. And it's frustrating because I feel sometimes lost. So for example, right now, this mission that I have is cut off the signal that led you to this planet. Okay? That's great. What if I'm going through all my cards and I never find that signal? Again, there are things that happen that still will allow you to trigger the game. You can potentially uncover destinies. You can, fill up your grid. So there's different ways that you can win. But for me, like, if I see that mission, like, I want to complete that mission. That's what I want to do. I want to feel fulfilled by completing the mission. Or like, for example, the game that we just played, we never actually found a destiny. So I kind of ended the game feeling like, okay, we didn't fulfill our mission simply because the locations that we went to weren't what we needed to find to actually complete this. And so I just kind of, some games, like the playthrough, just kind of leave me feeling slightly defeated. And it's so frustrating because I don't want this video to be a whole video about being back and forth, but that's kind of how I feel about this game, because even though I just said that, there have absolutely been times where I get a mission that I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna fulfill this or find this. But then I do. I'm able to go through and move through the story, and I'm finding everything that I need to, and everything's working out, and I'm able to fulfill that mission. Like I said, I've only actually fulfilled it once, but it was so satisfying and so fun when I was able to do that. But it does just take a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time. You have to be really kind of strategic about the way that you're approaching the board and the certain actions that you're taking on the locations. So it just kind of has that swinginess to it, in my opinion. Is sometimes you approach it and it goes amazing, and then other times kind of like the playthrough, where you just kind of end up feeling defeated the whole time. But the whole theme is you are crash landing on a planet, so I can totally see how that plays into the theme. You don't really know where you're ending up. You don't really know what you're going to approach. And the story that you uncover is really fun. Just to inherently sit back and play out the storyline and just kind of see what happens. I do find it really interesting how you can play this game solo or with up to even 6 players and nothing really changes. It's really inherently the same game. It does make it easy to teach because, at least for me, I was able to play this game a handful of times solo before teaching Addie. I will say that I've only played this at 1 and 2 players. So I haven't played it at the full player count, so I really don't have any right to say this. I can just anticipate when you are playing at that higher player count, let's pretend you are playing this at 6, I think it's going to feel slow between turns. I think, in my opinion, this plays best as a solo game because I'm able to sit and just move through the story. Boom, 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 boom. If I'm playing with 6, I get to move through my story and then I have to wait for every single character to go through. Some could say it's engaging because they're kind of talking about where they're at. For me, I found that really frustrating. Like, especially when I was playing with people, like, for example, Addie. I did play this with Jordan too, and it was easier because I just wanted to see where people were at. I mean, they were explaining this and this, but then we would kind of get hung up on different stuff and trying to figure out, I don't know. For me, I could see how with playing it with more players, it would just go too slow. So in my opinion, this is a solo game. That's how it should be played, in my opinion. And I think as a solo game, it's fantastic. Again, I'm still getting hung up on those handful of different things, but I think if you like going through and uncovering a story, then this game is fantastic. Again, I keep wanting to come back and explore this story. I'm sure at one point it'll eventually get to the point where I could just pass this game on and gift it to somebody else because I have gone through and seen all the cards. But it would take so many hours, like so countless hours of gameplay for me to get to that point. So inherently within this box, you just have so many hours that you can just sit and uncover this story. So honestly, I haven't played Vantage enough to give it like a concrete rating, which is why this is kind of more just a first initial impressions after playing this game a handful of times. However, right now it is kind of sitting at like a 7 for me. I think that's kind of where it's going to hit. There's lots of aspects that I like about it. Absolutely love the artwork. I love the theme. I love the story and uncovering the story. And that's what keeps pulling me back. Not necessarily the mechanisms to this game, but the story. So I think that, especially if you are a gamer and you kind of know what you gravitate towards, just me simply saying that, I think you probably have a good idea as if this would be a game that you'd be interested in or not. I do like the mechanisms, but I think the story is really what's pulling this game for me. Another huge positive for this game, though, is how approachable it is to play. And even the rulebook. I mean, let's see, where's the rulebook? This is it. It's so thin and tiny. The mechanisms are easy to teach. It's easy to get people into this game. As long as the person who's teaching it knows the game, I can sit down, just like I did with a playthrough, and you can just start playing. I love games that do that. You don't have to sit and do an hour teach and then play a 2-hour game. You can just sit down with people who've never played this game before and start playing. So it's so approachable. It's also super well thought out. Like, this storage organization system is amazing. I absolutely love how they thought for every little detail, like even just these little cards here that you're able to, you just put in just to hold your spot for when you have to exchange and go to a new location. It's little stuff like that that feels like it was well thought out. Even in the mechanisms are simple and easy to teach. They don't overcomplicate things, such as when you do have to do a skill check, you're not, okay, roll 2 dice, and based on how many succeed, you're able to do this option or this option or this option. No, it's just you do the skill check, you roll the dice. No matter what, you're going to be able to fulfill what you were intending to fulfill at that location. So nothing about this game overcomplicates himself or is complicated just to be complicated just for the fun of it. It all makes sense. It's easy to teach, and it's very approachable. And something about the theme also just kind of makes it easy to learn too, because you're crash landing on this planet that you have nothing about, that you know nothing about. Well, that makes it easier because you're not diving into something where you have this whole world and lore behind that you have to learn and you have to know what that type of creature is. You go into this game knowing that you don't know anything. So that actually helps you, especially with the onboarding processes. You can tell people, you just crash landed on this planet. We don't know anything. Now go and explore. So having said that, if you have not watched a playthrough of this game, I would absolutely recommend going and watching a playthrough if you're interested in this game. Again, I will have my personal playthrough linked in the description below. You don't have to watch mine if you don't want to. There are plenty of other channels that have great ones, but definitely go and watch it because I'm not sure if this is a game that I would recommend for everybody just because of how story-driven it is. I know not every gamer is super a story-driven gamer, but if you do enjoy stories with games, I would absolutely recommend checking this out and looking into it and seeing if it's one for you. Thank you so much for watching this video today as I just kind of share my first thoughts on Vantage. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, it means so much if you could do that. It really helps support me in everything that we're doing over here. But until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and we'll see you later.